everybody, welcome back to Meal Prep, and today I'm going to be focusing on España in Spain and the cuisine of Spain. It's not necessarily traditional in the least bit, but it's just inspired by the different flavors of Spain. So right now we're in the middle of August here. I'm in the northeast area of the United States. So in my area at this time, tomatoes are incredible, peppers, zucchini, summer squash. I'm using delicata in particular today. And also peaches are really starting to come in. August is the best time right now around here, so it's a great way to use a lot of peaches if you're not preserving either. And I really wanted to build this week's meal prep around what's seasonal and also what I already have. I didn't want to necessarily have to go to the grocery store or drive all around, and I didn't want to waste food either, so I try to use everything I have in the house. And really for me, it's just the whole philosophy behind the way I like to meal prep. I don't want a ton of different containers, or 7 containers with the exact same food, chicken, rice, broccoli, whatever it may be, all lined up. There's nothing wrong with chicken, rice, and broccoli, but by Thursday, I wouldn't be able to look at it anymore. So that's why I really like to mix it up. So for me, I like to prepare a couple of different proteins, several vegetables, maybe a sauce, maybe a dressing, and also be able to use those ingredients in completely different ways throughout the entire week. Now for this week, in my house, I already had whole chicken, I had beef sirloin strips, I have potatoes. For whatever reason, the squash gods have blessed me and I have a lot of delicata squash. It was unexpected. So I'm gonna turn that into a beautiful Spanish, via Spain inspired late summer prep. So for the chicken, I included a recipe for a smoky paprika chicken, the sirloin steaks, roasted potatoes, the delicata squash, a Romesco-inspired sauce. Inspired is the key word. It's not traditional because I didn't have the larger peppers roasted already. So you'll see a little hack I'm going to show you what you could do to improvise. And also, of course, we're going to be keeping protein front and center as always, while incorporating a ton of vegetables, fiber, and healthy fats. So let's get cooking. So what I did ahead of time, now I gave you, we're going to talk about the chicken first, of course. The chicken I provided in my Kajabi account that you guys have access to for free downloads. The whole chicken, it's roasting it in the oven because that's usually everybody's favorite way. I did do the crock pot hack though today, where I cook it very slow, like 7 hours in the crock pot with the water, and this way I had broth. But the flavors, the garlic, cumin, salt, pepper, paprika, that's all there. There's also, I used lemon juice as well. That's all there. Smoked paprika in particular is just one of those ingredients that like immediately gives beautiful Spain-inspired flavor without having to make it too complicated. I'm also, with the lemon and the garlic, of course, I use with everything almost when I'm cooking this style. If you are baking it, you're going to be baking it in the oven at 425 degrees. That will help get the skin really crispy, which is always ideal. But again, if you did it in the crock pot, you're going to be doing it slower. And it's for the purpose of the broth. Now, if you have time and you roasted the chicken, you of course can, save the carcass, make your own broth, that's fine. The broth I used to make rice, but also I'm going to save it for something else at the end of the week that I'll post another shorts video on for you. Just a different way to use some of these ingredients. With the chicken, I'm also going to make a paella-inspired skillet meal. Definitely not true paella, but inspired by it. And then anything else that's left over will be that other meal I'm going to show at the end of the week, which is made with white beans and chicken. But again, the carcass you could definitely save and make another pot of soup as well. Just if you want, you could always keep it in the freezer too, the carcasses, till you have enough and you want to make a big pot of soup or broth, and that's another great way to use it as well. It also helps, stretch your grocery budget. Now, in terms of this, we're not just buying ingredients for one recipe. We're thinking about how all these different ingredients can become all these meals. So we're not wasting food either. Now for the delicata squash, so while the chicken is cooking, you could definitely, of course, prep your delicata squash. I cut it in half, I seed it, and then I cut it into like half moon shape. I love delicata because what's nice about it is that the skin you can eat. The skin is edible. So it's very easy, just cut it in half, scoop it out, and cut it in those like little half moon shapes, like I showed you. Now, what I'm doing differently this week, and probably the same with the potatoes, I'm not gonna cook it all at once. I'm just prepping it, and so I'll cook it, and I have like one of those small little convection ovens on the countertop, and the night before, like when I set up my lunch or whatnot, I'll cook it then. I'll add some garlic, some oregano, some different seasonings. I provided 2 different ways of seasoning it, so you could mix it up a little bit on the downloads to give you some different ideas. But what's great with squash, if you do say want to do it all at once, it also mixes in nicely with salads as well. So it's not you're just having it with, say, roast chicken. You could do other things with it. You could put it in a frittata, or like the Spanish style tortilla, which is with the potatoes. You could use that instead. Maybe with a little bit manchego cheese, that would be nice. And of course, with the paprika, the smoky paprika, they almost start to taste a little bit like papa bravas too, which is really good. So 1 ingredients, 3 meals. It's a nice way to kind of diversify a little bit so you don't get bored. You don't want to just prep recipes. We want to prep ingredients. I'm trying to think of other things with the delicata squash, and I'm going to provide a bunch of options for you, but some of my favorite ideas, like chicken and delicata romesco bowls. So you combine it together in a bowl with grain maybe and put some of the romesco sauce. You could also take some of the squash with some chicken, maybe arugula, tomatoes, cucumbers, also again with a little bit of the romesco sauce on top, or also maybe make like a sauce with the yogurt and pureed garlic. That's combined with the chicken, about 35-40 grams of protein and a decent amount of fiber. Another meal I love using the steak would be warm steak and delicata salad. You could take some of the sirloin that we're making and add some of the warm squash with greens, peppers, onions, maybe some sherry vinaigrette, olives. That makes a great salad as well, a more warm salad. Peach and chicken salad is another favorite of mine. These are all great lunch ideas. Arugula, squash, peaches, chicken, maybe some toasted almonds, a little of the manchego cheese, some vinaigrette using sherry vinaigrette, which I wish I had, but I didn't have, so I used red wine vinegar. Peach and squash, and then the saltiness from the cheese, the acidity from the vinaigrette. There's some crunch with the almonds. It's a really nice flavor palette as well. And then, you're always really looking forward to eating because it's always different. I used to always get bored with the food, and now I don't. And I don't get takeout, almost never. For the potatoes and vegetables, so potatoes, potatoes I'll always have every week. The usual for me is olive oil, garlic, smoked paprika, salt, pepper. You could roast it. You could, if you want, you always have the option of, if they're semi-cooked too, you could just cook them on the stovetop in a little bit of oil. That's always nice. Also, slice them thin and make a tortilla España. That's really good too. Tortilla España, it's eggs, kind of like a frittata. So let's see, what else can we do? In terms of meal prep tips for you, again, is that you don't have to necessarily cook everything today. A lot of times it's just peppering ingredients. Earlier in the morning, I did marinate this sirloin, and I'm not going to let that go for a few days because it has vinegar and lemon juice, and I don't want it to kind of start to cook it. So I did do it early, and I'm going to brown it. I don't cook it fully. I cook it very lightly. And then this way, when I reheat food, it's not overdone, because I tend to like steak a little bit more on the rare side, personally. Now, gazpacho, the tomatoes, right? This is probably what I looked forward to the most every August, is gazpacho, because garden is overflowing with tomatoes right now. Farmers markets are overflowing with tomatoes. People grow tomatoes, they're bringing them in from home because they don't know what to do with them. I always have something to do with tomatoes, but you just take really ripe tomatoes, cucumbers, bell pepper, some red onion, some garlic, olive oil, the sherry vinegar or red wine, salt, pepper. I also put stale bread, a little bit of stale bread. That's also something that I do with Italian food too, with salads, but and a winter soup I make also with stale bread, but just a little bit I like sourdough. I use sourdough. I make sourdough, so I just a little bit of stale bread. You put it in the blender with the vegetables, and gazpacho is so much better the next day, and you don't taste bread. It kind of helps just with the texture of it. But gazpacho, and I made it already. But the gazpacho I just keep in the fridge, and it's great with maybe some chicken salad. Like a tapas style plate for lunch and a sandwich. This only has about 100, maybe 130 calories, depending on how much olive oil you use, but you need the olive oil. Olive oil makes it. And also we're getting tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers into the meal before we've even gotten to the main course, so it's a great way to get the nutrients from that as well. And it's just one of those things. This is it. The only time I'm going to have it is now because it's what's in season. Now, the Romesco-inspired sauce. So traditionally it's a roasted pepper. I didn't have the large peppers, and I still had peppers, those smaller ones I used from last week. So I just browned them, like I kind of toasted them in the pot. I'm going to put them in the blender with some vinegar. I'm going to use garlic, almonds. I'm using smoked paprika just because that will give the taste of smokiness since I didn't have roasted peppers. Some salt, a little bit of water, and I have to use red wine vinegar because I didn't have the other vinegar. But what's so nice with this Romesco is that you could use it with so many different things. It tastes great over the chicken and delicata squash. It just really changes the meal. It's also really good on steak as well. Or just if you have some of the potatoes, and if you do cook them in stovetop with a little bit of oil and you fry them, it's almost kind of like papas bravas style, and then you could put some of the sauce. Definitely not traditional. But I love Romesco also on eggs as well. You could also make vinaigrette dressing using the sherry vinaigrette if you have it, which is ideal, and that goes great too with everything. For the sirloin, so just to show you, the sirloin, like I said, I already marinated. I'm going to use a little bit of avocado oil. I have like a gallon size here, just because again the smoking point, the whole thing with the smoking point. And then the steak, as you see I already did the steak earlier. I marinated it, and all I marinated, this is not much, this is just some olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of the vinegar, smoked paprika, no, regular paprika, I'm sorry, a little bit of cumin, pepper, and I didn't use salt. I don't put salt on beef until I'm about to cook it because otherwise it dries it out personally. So that's how I do it. And I'll just do that now. And these I slice pretty thin because it makes it much easier for when you're having salad as well. It's for an easier salad. This is not like a huge heavy beef dinner because you remember it's the summer, so we're kind of going with the season. I love the big pans from Caraway. Okay. So that's going to cook. So while that's cooking, just to give you an idea of what I do with the sauce. So because I don't have the roasted pepper, I told you I kind of just a little bit of olive oil. I took some of those peppers that I had, the small ones. I'm just going to put them in here. Garlic, a little bit of salt. I'm just using a little bit of smoked paprika. That's just to give it the flavor of almost like it was really roasted because it wasn't. Just a touch of vinegar. A little bit of almonds. cooperates today. It's kind of hit or miss. But I do have a little bit of water too. That smells so good. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue browning the steak, and basically that's it. All of the meals are somewhere around 500 calories, about 30 to 40 grams of protein. Really, by the time you get to the end of the week, by Friday, you'll probably have a little bit of steak left, which is good for the salad if you want to have like a dinner salad. Simple enough: green steak, tomatoes, cucumbers, roasted peppers, red onions, manchego if you want. If you have any squash left over, the sherry vinaigrette would be great. And there is a dressing again in the download for you. And really, for me, by the weekend, you want to make sure the fridge is cleaned out so you can get ready for the next week. Some things I'll do is use those potatoes for the Spanish-style tortilla egg dish, which is nice with the potatoes. You could slice them thin rounds. Using a mandolin would be helpful for that, and that's usually at the bottom. And then with the eggs, it actually is a lot of protein as well. It's very filling, and that goes great alongside gazpacho. And gazpacho I'll probably make even more midweek just because there's so many tomatoes, which is great. Any chicken that's left over, I'm going to make that white bean soup with the broth that I have, with cannellini beans, tomatoes, different greens, kale, spinach, garlic, the smoked paprika, and then this way nothing is wasted. And that I'll put out a separate video on that. It'll be quick, a shorts, and of course the recipes will be available for you. But just, again, for me, one of the reasons I do this, I structure meals like this is that I want the meals to start with protein and then to be able to build around it. Especially at my age, I'm in my 50s, midlife, muscle is very important, and we want to maintain muscle. And eating protein is a big part of that, along, of course, with resistance training and still building protein. If you're using GLP-1 medications, which will reduce your appetite, you also want to make sure that you're choosing food that's contributing to you nutritionally, because it's very easy to have such a deficit in nutrition if you're just not eating adequately. So you want to make sure that even though it's small amounts, it's nutrient dense and you're getting enough nutrients in. We could have moderate portions of things like chicken, the steak, the vegetables, some potatoes, some rice, it's the healthy fats, the flavorful sauces, and then you have this 450, 500 calorie meal that's satisfying. It's beautiful to look at, all the different colors. It gives you about 35 to 40 grams of protein as well. Maybe 10, 50, if you're lucky, 10 grams plus of fiber in one meal. And just my medical disclaimer, I am a nurse practitioner. I do not know your individual needs specifically, so please make sure you're always speaking with your own healthcare provider or registered dietitian about your individual caloric needs, your protein needs, what your macro needs are in general. Don't forget seasonal produce. It's the best time to consume it. It's the most nutrient dense at this time. Another reason that I really love this menu, and I love the produce in August, especially here in the Northeast, because there is just so much that is available to us. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, corn, sweet corn right now, peaches, nectarines, herbs this whole summer have been really good. And they really taste how they're supposed to taste, right? Especially when they're tree ripened and things like that, especially if you're growing these things, if you're lucky enough to do so. So don't complicate recipes when the ingredients are this good. Just ripe tomato with olive oil, salt, a little vinegar on itself could be like delicious, the best thing on the plate. Seasonal produce also, it could be a lot more budget friendly, especially when there's such abundance of it, and especially when you're also growing it. So keep an eye on your farmers markets, maybe CSAs in your area as well. And you want to build your meals around what's plentiful at the time. That's pretty much going to be it for me for today. This is pretty much my Spanish-inspired, Spain-inspired summer meal prep. We start with two main proteins, the chicken, the sirloin strips. We added potatoes, delicata squash, which I already had. I took advantage of a lot of things in my garden. The tomatoes that are coming in, cucumbers, peppers, zucchini, corn and peaches I had to get that I bought at the farm. And just how these basic foods make such great combinations together. And that's really what, I want the takeaway to be for you with this meal prep, that you don't need a ton of different recipes. You don't need 15 different recipes. You just need a handful of really good ingredients and plan how you're going to use them, how you're going to optimize them. You want to cook once, you want to be able to repurpose, you want to add something fresh, taste the freshness from this season, maybe mix up the sauce. Just try to make your life as easy as possible during the week, especially if you're really busy, either if you're home taking care of your family or if you're going out to a traditional job. Just think about making life a little bit more convenient for you. And then by planning like this, it's healthy food. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, let me know in the comments if there's another type of cuisine you'd like for me to address or any suggestions you may have as well. And I will see you next week. And until then, stay balanced, stay nourished, and enjoy your food. Have a great week.